Yes, thanks. It's a nice surprise. I'm Kerry Chan of Smart Properties. I think just a brief on our transformation. Previously, a lot of companies is working on this experience-based management, who's working to just very fix the temperatures, pressures, and these sort of things. And since 2003, our company has now adopted what we call a knowledge-based energy management system. Now, this is there are two special features. One is on the better use of the building management system, which is something like Bob was talking about, and the other side is on practical researches. On the first side, the building management systems are usually criticized as a very big, expensive clock. It's just like a human brain. People is using a fraction of it. And one of our approaches really to how to better utilize it. Instead of just using it as a automatic control system, we use it as a information system, telling us those very important knowledge that how to optimize our plants and equipment. Now, you've talked about meterings. Now, meterings can tell us directly how much energy we have used, and then different buildings will be different. Then you may be divided by square meters or square feet, so that you can more or less know how much energy is using per square meter. But that doesn't really tell us much on the energy efficiency of that particular buildings, because every building is different. So what we are trying to do is we use the information from the building management system to tell us the outputs. So if the two buildings with the same outputs, what are the efficiencies on each individual systems? Like how much fan power are you using for the same air conditioning output? How much pump power, etc., etc. So this can help us to better understand the performance of different buildings. So that is one part of it, and the other part where we use the information is on the fault detection and diagnosis. Like fan coil units, VAV systems, a lot of this is not operating efficiently. So what we are doing is that we use data mining methodologies to help us to analyze those data. So other than the hardware of the building management system, we need to have a lot of studies, to have a lot of softwares to help us to process the data, to analyze the data in order to make it into knowledge. I think that is one very important thing, is to transform ourselves from experience-based to knowledge-based. And the other side is researchers. We have research funds with universities. One very successful project that I have just presented yesterday is a festival walk. We have just used about 40 million to upgrade our system, to optimize our systems, etc. And the payback is only less than 3 years. We are cutting about 14 million units of energy per year.
Well, I think you're really touching on something that's quite important that I think several of our panelists have also touched upon, and that's the payback period, isn't it? It's something that even Mayor Bloomberg said we really need to see results now. It can't be results 50 years into the future, and so a payback period of 3 years certainly is much better than others. I'd just like to ask, because we're kind of running out of time, unless you had another point that you wanted to conclude with.
I think that is more or less. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. If there's something else here in the panel that you'd like to really touch upon before we close?
Just to answer the previous question a little bit, access to capital is as big a problem in the developed world as it is in the undeveloped world. The biggest barriers to investors entering into this space is the common method of measurement for the buildings, the size of the pipeline that needs to be as big as possible, and also they're willing to put the upfront money in. So actually, once you solve the first two problems, the access to capital equity financing will come. So how do we crack the first two problems? And it's doing the things we're doing. It's getting more intelligence around the performance of buildings and what these measures do. But I also think it's engaging now the investment community and getting them to do some of the work, getting them to understand the pipeline, and maybe even combining some of our cities' buildings globally, because while we're all cities and we all have boundaries, the finance community don't. They're quite happy to invest in portfolios across the world, and buildings are buildings are buildings. So that just as a...
You know, one of the things that we saw this morning that was kind of interesting too was you all saw the images of the Empire State Building, and kind of a little more detail of just what's happening there. The whole idea of that building is to really look at its current efficiency and what it might do if it's a more efficient building in the future, and using that delta as a fixed return that can be used for financing purposes to actually pay for the upgrades in that building. So I think there's some innovative ways of financing. One last comment here in the panel.
The only thing I guess I would like to share is a saying I love from Thomas Edison. He said, "Opportunity is missed by most because it's dressed in overalls and looks like hard work." We all spend a lot of time going to these conferences. The hard work is yet to be done. Collectively, I hope we can come together and do it quickly.
I think that's a good note to close on. Thank you very much, everyone, for your participation.
Before everybody leaves, I have some very good news. The very good news is that tomorrow's session is starting at 9:30, not 9 o'clock. But the doors will be locked at 9:25. So if you intend to be in the first session in the morning, you have another half an hour to sleep or another half an hour to enjoy Lang Kwai Fong, but please be in by 9:25. Thanks.